Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. I'm your host, John, back with my bestie, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good, but I already miss
Oh,
you.
I know. We had the band back together this weekend. It was
I
fun.
know. It was cool, like actually being somewhere in person together. I don't think it's happened, oh my God, since the Under Armour thing, huh?
Yeah, it's been a year and a half for you and
Year and a
I,
half.
almost.
Gross.
Well, before we jump into the whole Mac conversation, let's talk about our sponsor this week, Grill Your Ass Off.
Hey, you better be out there grilling yo buns off. No, Grill Your Ass Off is an awesome company that I'm feel very lucky that we've had a chance to work with for the last couple weeks. They make these really badass spices and like spice mixes that you can use as dry rubs or as seasonings, and they have all sorts of different like flavor profiles, and they're all really funny. It's a veteran owned company, so there's a bunch of like military humor like in the titles and in the little cartoons on each bottle. They're so good.
They are so good. I've been using them for eggs. I make a lot of eggs,
Ooh.
scrambled eggs. Like they're just kind of a staple in my diet, and so much easier and so much better than just salt and pepper. I've been using it on potatoes, been using it on chicken, steak. Like pretty much every single thing I cook in this house has come from that what they call the box of ass.
Box of ass.
Box of ass, and yeah, it's amazing completely. And to be honest, I was a little skeptical when they reached out and said, "Hey, try our spices." I'm like, I'm a dude, right? Like, I'm not a great cook and don't do a ton of cooking. I'm like, all right, spices are spices. I was totally wrong,
Totally
totally,
wrong.
totally wrong. And now I'm like kind of blown away by how good they are. So now I think I'm a great cook, but it's just the spices,
Oh,
just
it's just the spices.
just the spices.
You too can get your hands on some awesome grill your ass spices at a discount. Our discount code is ASS15, literally
Yes.
ASS15. And it'll get you 15% off. And in addition, just to say out loud that on top of these epic spices, I love their smoked salt.
Oh,
That
so
is like
good.
where it's at. They
So
also
good.
have jerky, they have sauces, they have like powders where you can make like ranch dip and stuff like that, and then they have really funny and slightly off color merchandise. So if you have a sense of humor like we do, you might want like a beat your meat t-shirt or something. Just saying.
There you go. So where do they go to get said t-shirt?
They got to grillyourassoff.com, yo. And we'll put a link in the show notes too.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Well, let's talk about the Mac, which was so much fun. Oh my gosh.
I am riding this high from like, I guess I just missed live competition more than I realized. And I'm totally like riding the high of what felt to me like a really well run competition, which I can't say for all the comps I've been to, truly. Like it takes a village, and Wilson and Luke Espy, like they did it right. And on top of that, like a really great broadcast. If I can just toot my own horn a little bit, like just a great team put out a great product, and I'm very proud to have been a part of it.
Everyone listening is like, well, Nikki works for these people, so she has to say that. But I will, and she does, but I will say, I've been to a lot of comps, and I'll tell you what I appreciated. First of all, everything started on time and ended on time.
Yeah,
Like
like bare minimum, that does not happen at all
that,
comps.
that absolutely does not happen. The broadcast was highly professional, which again doesn't
Oh,
happen at all comps, and not
true.
just your part. Your part was great, Nikki, but
Thanks.
all of the parts were really good.
Yes.
I thought that was great. I thought the way it was laid out, like just kind of the professionalism of the way the stadium itself looked, the flooring, the
Yep.
rig, the signs, like it had it had that arena atmosphere that you get at the games when you're inside. You
Yep. Totally.
I thought those things were really cool. I didn't have a lot of disappointments. I think just from an event standpoint, I wish there'd been more people there, but that's not the event organizer's fault. That's people afraid to buy tickets because they're not sure what the restrictions are going to be like until the
Yeah.
last minute. And so that was a bummer. And I had a lot of people bitching at me about the food, but again, that's not
Oh yeah,
my
I
fault.
only saw that on social. I didn't actually see that in real life.
Well, so here's what I saw in real life because I'm always like looking at everything. People were annoyed at the food. Again, that's not the organizer's fault. Like when you rent these events, they don't let you bring in your own food. You have to use their food vendors. And,
Right.
this is a basketball arena. So they sell hot dogs and popcorn and crappy pizza. But what they do
Mm.
sell that I saw a lot of are gigantic Trulies and Bud Lights. So a
Hmm.
lot of people drinking alcohol, which I thought was pretty funny at a CrossFit event. Probably
There
because,
always is. I like that because it's like a CrossFit party.
yeah, it was good. And the vendor village was really small and it was outside.
Yeah.
Again, that was, due to COVID restrictions when they originally did it. Like, you can't get, I talked to Wilson about it. Like, you just can't get as many vendors as you want. And they had to have them outside. And then when they lifted the restrictions at the last minute, there's no way to move them, so I think there was a lot there that was out of their control that in future events will probably be much, much better because you can see how high quality everything else was. Like those couple little annoyances that people were complaining about were so little. Like I didn't even blink at them. The competition was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Quick side note, is Bean eating your shoes right now?
Is he? I
I don't
I
know. I
don't know.
see him in the background of your thing.
He's probably humping those nobles I bought.
Was he just hump or was he taking a poop in them? One or the other. I couldn't tell.
Maybe he better not. Those things are expensive.
Sorry, I'm sorry to take that away from your point, but I do agree that like, yeah, Vendor Village was small, was a little disappointing, only because as a CrossFit gear junkie, you get so stoked to like walk around and see all the things. And yeah, it was a smaller crowd than usual, but again, totally agree with you. Those are things that are just kind of like circumstances of the world we're living in today, and all things considering, I thought still awesome that the organizers were able to pull it off in some respect, even there being a handful of vendors, even the stands being moderately full, I thought was a success.
Yeah, super fun. So let's talk about the competitors.
Wow, man, I just like some things went to plan, right? Like Tia dominating, Mayhem crushing it. Like you could have written that script 6 months ago, totally.
Yep.
Some things just blew my mind. I mean, like, look at the rookies that we've got in the top 5 on the men's side. Just overall, I love, love, love that we have this sport and this kind of community that like breeds up and coming athletes, and like people can come out of nowhere and blow your mind. It's so cool.
Yeah, I think we said that on the last show. Like the one thing I love about CrossFit is, you can have a great weekend when it's 6 events, which is part of it.
Yep.
You can come out of nowhere. Like it can be your first event and no one's ever seen what you can do. So they can just totally surprise you. And then sometimes, the programming kind of lends to your strengths. I think that happened a little bit, for specifically Jason Hopper. Like he's a big dude, tallest CrossFit I've ever seen. I mean, he looked like a giant out there compared to the rest of them. But to his credit, he looked like a veteran. Like he was so calm in the face. Like usually when
Mm-hmm.
these guys like get to the last day of competition and they're leading, they crack. Because I've seen it before. They get out there and they get all nervous, like, oh my God, I might win this thing. And then they make a mental error. This dude was like stoic, totally
Mm.
stoic, just like every event, just out there grinding. Didn't appear like he had any stress, just like he'd been doing this his whole life.
Yeah.
It was so
He
impressive.
he has an athletic background. He played football at Baylor. Uh sorry, not at Baylor, at Clemson.
Yep.
And this wasn't truly his debut technically. So he had qualified for Atlas Games last year when we were in the sanctional season, and went out there, had every intention of competing. If you remember, Atlas Games was the first event that was canceled because
Right.
of COVID, and it was canceled like the day it was supposed to
Right.
start, basically. So it feels like this is the first time that we're seeing him. And I think in his winner's interview, I think I literally said to him, we're all out here being like, who the heck is this guy?
Right.
um, but the reality is we very well might have had this conversation this time last year too, had he done that well at Atlas. So he's not totally coming out of nowhere, but it certainly feels that way because we
Right.
haven't had a chance to see him perform yet. And I actually think, to me, one of the really high level aspects of this event was the programming specifically.
Mhm.
And I thought it was just one of the most well-rounded tests that I have seen. So I agree with you. It's like a little bit, he doesn't necessarily have like the build or the stature that you would think lends itself well to a CrossFit Games athlete. But I think he proved that despite like excellent programming, that wasn't necessarily in his favor. Just my opinion.
Yeah, like there was a lot of high power output stuff I thought that lent to his strengths, but like the last event, I said going into it, it was close enough that Scott could have passed him. And I said going in, all right, this is a real test because it's got, legless rope climb
Mm-hmm.
and strict handstand push-ups as two of the movements, and then went into dumbbell, was it dumbbell snatches? Is that right? Or um, anyway, and he's a big dude, long arms. I'm like, that does not lend well to do that combo of legless rope climbs and strict handstand push-ups. And again, he just was grinding it out, hit everyone, didn't no rep at all, stayed right there side by side with the big boys.
I know that last
Um,
event was so good. And you know what I loved? So I was talking to Luke SB, who's the founder of the MACC and the head programmer for the event, about that last one
mhm.
specifically. And he told me that he programmed it specially for the transitions, which I thought was so fascinating because he was like, every elite athlete in the final heat is going to be able to do those movements. Like, no one's going to struggle. Like, some people are going to be better than others, but no one's going to struggle with legless rope climbs and handstand push-ups and and moving a big heavy dumbbell. But like, it is going to come down to who can transition the fastest and who can hurt the most. And I thought that was just such an interesting, like, psychological test in addition to physiological, that like only someone who has a ton of programming experience would get there in their minds.
Yeah, I thought the programming was great. I think when I was at the MAC a couple of years ago, I didn't love the programming. So, just kind of proof that I'm not giving the hometown speech for the the event.
Right, right.
There are certainly times when I look at programming and go, oh, that's, borderline dangerous or just dumb or whatever. But I thought all of these events, they did a couple of things. Number one, I thought they really kind of tested all aspects of their fitness, which is obviously important. But they also, several of the events came down to the wire. Like they
Mm-hmm.
had a good, like a race at the end. And that's what you want in a live event. Like you want two people sprinting to the end against each other. And we saw that multiple times. And like to be able to be in the crowd and watching people jump out of their seats was like, it was really electric. Like you almost get goosebumps sitting out there.
Totally. Totally. I do it from the sidelines too. And like, everyone else, it's just like my life. I like lean over the guardrails and I'm like watching with everyone. And there's like a bunch of like medical staff there. And there's a bunch of like event staff. And everyone's just like stoic. They got their hands folded and they're just like watching the event or whatever. And then like something happens, like you said, like there's a switch up in who the leader is, or like someone comes out and you didn't think that they were going to be the first one to move their chest piece, but they do. And I'm always the only one like leaning over the barrier who's like, oh sure, like
Right.
look, Haley Adams is coming out. And then everyone always turns around and stares at me and I'm like, oh, sorry.
Well, as long as we're talking about the men, let's just kind of roll through them. I thought Scott, who finished second, Scott Panchik, I thought his two best moments for me, the first one was his 300-pound snatch,
So good.
just proving, he called it dad strength, and
Mm-hmm.
he's just strong. So I don't know how much being a dad plays into it, but I'll give him credit. It was 300 pounds and it looked like he had more in him, to be honest.
Yep. So clean.
Yeah, and just I thought for him it was just a really well-rounded weekend. Like he didn't show any weaknesses through the whole weekend. Like Jason just won, right? Like Scott could have easily won. So like I was watching that going, all right, if Scott can maintain that over, a 4-day period at the games, he's going to be on the podium again.
Oh yeah.
He looked, or for the first time, he'll be on the podium. He
Yep.
looked spectacular. And then I was impressed with Justin, like he proved he wasn't a flash in the pan. He looked great on every event he was in. He won that last event, like came out hot. I'm like, all right, he's going to burn out. And then he didn't burn out. Like that dude is just fit. So fit.
And his parents like to buy us drinks.
I ran into,
So
oh, this is funny. I ran into his mom. We were out walking and we were walking past some ice cream parlor and I hear some lady behind me and I'm in street clothes, just like I hear some lady behind me go, is that Make Watts great again? And I turn around
ah,
and there's Justin's mom. And so I don't really know her. I've only talked to her on Instagram a few times. So I give her a big hug, and
Shanna.
I told my friend I'm like, I just hugged Justin Madero's mom. I think I'm his dad now.
Uh-huh.
So, and
That basically makes you.
yeah, my son did great. I'm so proud of my son.
So proud. No,
So
she's the best. That whole family is the best. And if you've ever like watched a broadcast or been live in the stands when he's been competing, they roll deep. Like
yeah,
that family and his girlfriend and their friends, like they go with him all over the world from when he won Filthy to games, even though they didn't allow
right,
spectators, to this. He always rolls deep with like 15, 20 people, and they all always come with him everywhere. Like straight up to like athlete check-in, he came in with like
right.
20 people. It was awesome.
Well, what
And
was funny?
Shanna, wait, funny story about Mama Maderos. So Justin, not to throw him under the bus, but Justin stood us up the first time we had him on the show. Do you
Right.
remember this?
Yep, I remember this.
And he just had the wrong time zone, like poor kid, but he felt so bad about needing to reschedule with us. And his mom, Shanna, messaged me at games, and she was like, hey, um, Justin has a gift for you because he feels really bad about not coming on your show on time. Even though I'm telling you, we rescheduled for like a week later. It was fine. It was no big deal.
Right.
And so the next time I saw him, I was like, hey man, I heard you got me a present. And he just biffed it. He was like, I did, question mark. Like his mom like lobbed it right to him. She was like, I got her a gift. I'm trying to save face for you, like whatever. And instead of rolling with it, he was like, say what? And I was like, oh man, your mom got me a present and she tried so hard to give you credit and you just biffed it so hard.
Well, I could tell they were a really tight family because we were leaving a restaurant, and Tia and Shane and all the Noble crew, Brooke, like all the Noble, owners or whoever, they're all decked out Noble, come walking into the restaurant, and he's a Noble athlete. He was not with them, and I thought to myself at the time, like, that's weird. Like, why would they bring everybody but Justin? And then when I came over to see you at the hotel, he's there with like 15 people out on the patio, and it's all it's his mom and his dad and everybody else. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's why he's rolling with his family, which I thought was really sweet and touching because I really love seeing people that have good family relationships. So it's good
Yeah.
for sure. Travis Mayer killed it.
Dude, I am constantly impressed by Travis. Constantly. For me, the best snatch of the entire competition was Travis's 300 because number one, I know it was a PR for him. And competition day PR is just like the most electric thing ever. And number two, I always look at him and I'm like, where are you hiding all of your muscles, man? Where are they? Like he just doesn't come out there like built like Jason Hopper.
Well, look, first of all, he wears big baggy t-shirts, which I appreciate that. Like,
Oh,
I thought the same thing. I feel bad even saying it, but I kind of thought the same thing. He dresses like a dad of four, which is great. I
I
love it.
love it.
Yeah, it's great. And I said, his weekend was also solid, kind of like
Oh,
Scott's. Like
so
he's
good.
another one that could easily be on the podium at the game.
Totally.
This was a
100%.
stacked field, and he killed it. He looked great. He was just up against some really, really tough competition. The difference between being fourth and being first is a couple of events, like and not even that much in those couple of events. So,
Yeah.
really solid.
And I'm just impressed by anyone. I'm impressed by anyone who juggles being a professional CrossFit athlete with anything. So, like, insert 4 children, including a very young baby at home. Like, they're not sleeping. Um, I can't, I don't understand. He's not human.
Well,
Travis is not human.
props to his wife and family who he's obviously got a good support system to be able to
Yeah.
just and get out and compete. So it takes a village.
Yeah.
But huge props to him. He looked great. And then Zach Watts punching his ticket.
I know. Another rookie. He set this goal for himself and was like so touched emotionally that he was able to like get here. You could tell he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe how the whole weekend had been going for him. Monster snatch
Right.
to start everything out. Just insane.
Yeah.
Um, And then, he called a shot later on and he was like, he came up to me and he was like, you and I are going to talk after Gretel. He really thought that that was going to be like the event that he was going to win. And even though he didn't, he had such a consistent performance over the weekend that it didn't matter. Like, you're going to games, bro.
Yeah, he was great. I love these guys when they punch their first ticket, because I was watching the just some of the posts coming out of Mid-Atlantic, and he's going in and everyone mentions his name. He's literally commenting like, "Thank you so much." Like they're so excited. They
Mm-hmm.
have to thank every single person that comments on them. And for me, that's really touching, because that just shows how excited and grateful they are to be there. And
Yeah.
to get that reward of your hard work paying off it's just so cool.
It was so cool. I love watching it.
So women, I have to say I've seen Tia compete, well, as much as everybody else, I guess. I've watched her on TV, but this is the first time I've kind of watched her end to end
Oh.
in a competition. It's like, I mean, I saw her at the games, but this is different. It was a small venue, small group of, 3 heats every time. It was like watching Michael Jordan, or, whoever's the GOAT in whatever sport you like. That was it. Like, it was just like a giant amongst others.
Yep.
Like, she's just so good
I
at
know.
everything, which I know isn't shocking, but to see it live is really, it's almost like, seems superhuman. You
Yeah.
watch and go, all right, well, she's got a break now, and then she does it. She can't lift that, then she does, and then when it's over, she's out there smiling and cheering other people on. And at one point, she had a baby running around with this,
Mm-hmm.
like, having these human moments of just kindness and sweetness. And I'm just like, how can one person be such a fierce competitor and then also just be so incredibly kind and sweet? Like, it's just, I'm was a fan going in, much bigger fan coming out, which was hard to
Yeah.
believe, because I was already a big fan. you know
She just never looks tired.
now
Right?
i
Like, I
i
look
was
tired like
complaining
walking down the friggin' street.
I was complaining every time I walked up the stairs in that arena. I'd get to the top of the stairs. I'm like, hold on, I gotta grab my name for a minute. You know, Swear to God, it was impressive. I tell you who I was most impressed with was Haley Adams.
Oh, yeah.
Without Tia there, would have won that event handily. No offense to the other competitors, just Haley. Like, I know I should never doubt her, because I love Haley to death. Like, she's my own kid, but man, she just, every time she competes, I'm just like, I'll tell you, here's 2 things I love about Haley. One, she dresses like a gym bro. I love
I
it.
know.
I love it. I think it's the best. Like, and I'm not making fun of her. Like, I love it. Like, everybody else is in sports bras and booty shorts, and that's great. Like, they're competing, they're working. Like, you got to wear what you're comfortable in. She's out there in like cut off t-shirts that she's made herself, and sweatshirts with no arms in them, and it's great. Like, I absolutely love that about her.
I think that's
And
what the kids are wearing. I think that
yeah,
we're just not cool enough to know
well,
that.
she's just her own person. Like, she could have any endorsement in the world, and she's endorsed plenty.
Yeah.
It's just really funny to me. Like, she just visually looks different than the others, and I absolutely love that about her. Um, and kind of like Tia, like, she just has zero quit in her.
Yeah.
Zero. But then when she's done, she's back in teenager mode, dancing,
Totally. Totally.
goofing off, making jokes. Like, she's the best, man. I'm such a fan of that kid. She's a total rock star, and will absolutely be on the podium sooner than later.
Yeah.
If not with the championship at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of talk about her being sort of like next in line to become the dominant GOAT, and it was really interesting to watch this battle all weekend of, Tia obviously taking the win on most of the events and Haley being the one to push her and kind of like, the solid greatest of all time dominant athlete and the up and coming kind of like newer to that first place spot athlete being the one to push her. I think it's telling of what we're going to see in the future as Haley continues to get better, and potentially as Tia stops competing someday. I think Haley's like next in line for the throne, so to speak.
Yeah, she certainly earned it, and
Yeah.
just is amazing at it. She made fun of me on my drive home. We were texting about something. We're DMing about something, and I said to her, "Hey, she had a 185-pound snatch, 185 pounds, and she probably weighs a buck 15." And so
Mm-hmm.
I said to her, I'm like, "Hey, you had to beat my snatch PR by 5 pounds," and she goes, "Oh, it's on." Well, like we're competing now. Like, no, we're not. No, because you'll be up over 200 in a couple of months, and I'm
Oh
still gonna
yeah.
be where I'm at for the rest of my life. So she's so
So
funny. Brooke was great.
solid. So solid. And it's been a really big year for her. She moved, she switched programming, she switched gyms. She's underproven now with Tia and Shane and all those people. And I think you can tell like she's had so much confidence out on the floor every single time she went, and also so composed. I love watching Brooke work out the same for the same reason as Tia. They just always look focused
Yep.
and never tired. And always like so happy when it's over.
Yeah, I had that in my notes for her too. She was very composed. Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing seemed to phase her at all. Like she had a couple moments where I think she didn't do as well as she thought she should have, like in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't appear fake. She just kept grinding,
Yep.
I sat behind her parents on the last day. First of all, her dad is like an eclipse. He is so big. Oh my God.
I did not know where you were going with that.
Oh, he is so big. He's got his arms are bigger than my legs, like
Oh my
super
gosh.
fit. I'm like, oh, he's a scary man. But I love being behind families that root for their kid, and she's clearly got a great family. Like it's just endearing to me to see someone that works so hard, but also has that support system.
Totally.
And so I thought that was,
Totally.
for me, that's one of the really cool parts of live competition is getting to see the families cheer on their kid. And
Yeah.
so that was fun.
Her twin is competing this year too.
Yeah, Sydney was there. Yeah,
Yeah,
she was in the stands. She was right there
I know.
cheering. It was
It's going to be really, really cool and interesting to watch her, I think.
yeah, it was very cool. Amanda Barnhart was fourth. Man, Amanda is always impressive to me.
Seriously.
So consistent, so strong, kind of good at everything. Like she's one I've said for a long time. I think she could get on a run and win the whole thing. Like she certainly
Oh
got
yeah.
the strength to do it. She's got the cardio. Like she's got all the tools to do it. Just how soon is it all going to be put together to make it happen? She's out with Katrin and those guys at help me out here. Whose group is
Palm
that?
tree?
Yeah, Comp Train.
Bergeron?
Yeah, Bergeron's group. And
Yep.
so this was probably her first competition since then, right? Since
Yep.
they moved out there. And I thought she looked great. I spent some time talking to her husband, who looks like a much younger, fitter version of me. So that was fun too. So I enjoyed that. And then we had Jessica Griffith qualified.
you
Fifth.
know, it was so interesting. This is kind of like what you want, right? This is what you want at a live competition or at a CrossFit semifinal when we're trying to qualify people for the games. The fifth place spot was completely up in the air until the last event.
Yeah,
And
2 points.
mathematically, it could have shaken out like for Jess to win, she needed to come in like third or whatever in the event, and then like she needed someone to come in between her and Fee, and like you had to do all these like crazy calculations in order to figure out who was going to get in. And it came down to 1/10 of a second in the finish of the final event to figure out exactly who would qualify where. So I love those nail biting moments when we're like all out on the competition floor and we're waiting for Mike or Larry to read the final scores, because it just keeps it so interesting. And it's a true testament to, how good all these ladies are, that they're all competing at that level. So yeah, just squeaked through in that fifth place spot. And then the sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth, and that is unique to this competition, to the women's side of this competition only. All of those spots went to last chance qualifiers. So all of those ladies will have another chance to compete virtually for a trip to the games. And the reason why they extended that 4 placements and not just 3 is because Tia athlete who couldn't travel were placed in this region, and so they ended up extending that to one more person. And Tia was very gracious about that. I did an interview with her at the end that we pre-taped for, you'll probably see it in the studio show. She has full awareness that she came into this region and this competition and took someone's spot. Like she said those words. And so she was just so gracious and hyper aware of that situation. And to say that out loud, to acknowledge that and to acknowledge everyone else's hard work and how difficult that must have been, I thought was just the mark of such an amazing competitor.
Well, she's a class act. There's no denying that. And
Yeah.
Christine Colbrander, who was the one that finished sixth, was 2 points behind because Fee and Jessica were in the race to the finish, and Jessica beat her by a tenth of a second.
Mm-hmm.
That tenth of a second kept Christine out, which is
Yep.
clearly heartbreaking for Christine, who, by the way, had a fantastic weekend.
So good.
And Fee had not the weekend she wanted, and so that was kind of a heartbreaking moment for her. Like, this is like something I love about CrossFit, but I'm like right down front, and when Fee's done, who we said on our last show we thought she would be top 5.
Yep.
And by all accounts, she looked like she easily could have been, but I think she had some. I'm not sure what was going on, but she kind of alluded to it in a post. That things weren't completely well for her going into that competition. And to see her and the group that had come with her, is actually Scott's wife, were hugging. And there's a photo of it on the games Instagram page today, and it's like really touching to me to see those relationships that happen within CrossFit. Like, you're not related, but you become related through this shared, I've said it before, the shared suffering that we all deal with, day in and day out, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of the hard work. And so for me, that was really touching to see, like, what that see that live again, like, and to all be there for it reminds me of why we love this so much. So,
Yeah.
and I'm excited that she'll get another shot. She's, again, great competitor, great person, so more to come for her for sure.
Totally.
All right. So great event at the MACC.
Loved it. Can't wait to get back at it. We have a few more weeks of competition and then the big show.
I know. Well, speaking of big shows, let's take a quick break. We'll talk about our mid-show sponsor, but I'm gonna make a joke about it because I kept getting messages from people, because all through the weekend, Rich was wearing his Airwaav mouthpiece, and people kept
Yeah.
messaging me going, "Does that thing work? Because Rich just seems to be chewing on it."
I think he chews on it in between when he needs to work. I think that is such a like a seasoned athlete move, where, like, I don't know if you ever notice it, but like baseball players will chew, or like tennis players will like spend the time in between when they're actively playing, like picking the fuzz out of their rackets. And it's not because they're distracted, it's because they don't want to be distracted. It's because they need one thing to like focus on to keep their head in the game and stay hyper focused. And I think for him, it was totally chewing on it in between, like when he was actually lifting or working out.
Well, yeah, and people would message to go, "Well, we know you said you used it, but does it work because Rich is chewing on it?" I'm like, "Yeah, it absolutely works." Like, Rich isn't going to put something in his mouth in a competition because somebody's paying for it. Like,
Yeah,
his
no.
competitor, and by the way, we didn't even talk about teams, but they destroyed the field.
Mm-hmm.
And much in part to Airwaav. You're welcome, guys. But it works. Like, it helps with the recovery. It helps with your breathing. It's helped immeasurably for me.
Yeah. Let me give the sort of like top line. If you watch the MACC and you were like, what the heck is that thing in Rich Frowning's mouth? So it's a really thin mouthpiece that basically sits on top of your lower teeth, and it forms really well and really easily to your teeth. So it's not like the mouth guard that you played like lacrosse with when you were in middle school. It's very comfortable. Um, and it basically pushes your jaw down and forward, and it creates the optimal airway opening, or what I like to call mouth hole opening on the show.
Yes, the mouth hole.
There's so many people DM'd me over the weekend and asked me to work mouth hole into an interview, and I was like, no. But it basically allows you to oxygenate optimally, and so you can totally kick butt in longer metcons. The way that you bite down on it helps with your cortisol levels so you can recover faster. I mean, it is a cool training tool to incorporate into your CrossFit WODs, because I mean, we're constantly trying to do anything we can to be like 1% better. You know, we wear knee sleeves, we wear wrist wraps, we wear belts. Like, this is another way to train 1% better.
Yep. I like it. I actually like it better than my knee sleeves, whatever that is.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, knee
Yeah, if you want
sleeves squat, so it's important.
to, yeah, totally. And if you want to try one out, go to airwaav.com, AIRWAAV, 2 A's on the end there.
Yep. You can pretend you're Rich Froning and just chew on it.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, Granite Games is next.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that exciting? Like, back to back friggin' CrossFit. I love it.
Oh, I wish I could go to that one. I'm so disappointed.
Me too. Me too. I'm going to be a very large bridesmaid next weekend.
All my besties will be there. Steph Chung's going to be there.
I know. I'm sad that we can't watch her compete IRL. But they also have a really deep field for men and women. I think that that anyone who gets a chance to watch live is going to have just as epic of a show as we had at the MACC.
Yeah, I would love to see the battle between the two teams. So Emma Carey and Mal O'Brien's going to be there. And I mean, come on, like, what more can you say about those two? But to see them live in competition against Christy Aramo, Andrea Nestler, Kendall Vincelette, Steph, like, man, how much fun is that going to be?
That's going to be really cool. I mean, talking about these like up and comers, and also, I know we've said this on the show a million times, but like, man, the kids who are getting into CrossFit now, or the ones who have been in it even just for the last like 3 or 4 years, they are setting a new bar. We're going to look back in 5 or 10 years at all of us oldies that started in our like 20s. And in comparison to the kids who've had a chance to really come up in the sport, it is going to be night and day. It's very cool to see it starting to come to fruition now.
Yep. Well, I'm not giving my top 5. I did pretty good, I think, on the last one. We did top 5 for each. I got close. I didn't get the men, but I got real close on the women.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my short list for this one are Mal and Emma, Steph, and Christy Aramo.
Yes. Same.
What's her last? Oh,
O'Connell. Christy Aramo O'Connell. Yeah.
We'll make sure I give her credit for the last name.
I agree fully with that. I would also add, I have Alessandra Picelli on the list.
Yeah, she's on my
Been a
short list.
consistent athlete forever. And I don't know if you've heard of her, but I know her well and had the pleasure of working out and coaching alongside her in the past. Her name is Amy Morton, and she is an unbelievable athlete. And like, you talk about juggling, like has a full-time job as a researcher, and has the cutest little boy you've ever seen. Like, she's just unreal, and not just because I love her personally, but because she had an unbelievable performance in the quarterfinals. I put Amy in my top 5 too.
Okay. Well, I think we got a stacked field on the women. The men are no slouches. Chandler Smith.
I have him to win it all. I do. I think
No,
it's his year.
I don't, but I can't because my coach is in there. And
because Saxon's in there. I know.
I got a lot of friends in this one. Chandler's there. Tim Paulson's competing.
I
love Tim. Again, like, we keep talking about great families. Like, man, the Paulson family are like, they roll deep. Mom, dad are both great. His wife, they have this beautiful little redheaded baby. Oh, they're so good. And
send me your redheaded baby vibes, Paulsons.
Yeah, and then speaking of gingers, Drew Wayman's going to be there. Drew is super solid. He nearly what event was it 2 years ago? I thought he was going to win it, and then he didn't. Was it strength? No, I mean, he kind of came out of nowhere and finished like second, or maybe strength and depth, if I remember right, or one. Like, he's been at a sanctional and done exceptionally well. So he is a solid athlete. Kyle Kasperbauer.
Okay, I have Kyle Kasperbauer in my top 5 because he has just never ever let up, and he's been competing in the Masters division too for the last couple years. And I mean, I'm always so solidly impressed by him. So I think he's Mr. Consistency and definitely can end up in the top 5. I also have Jake Marconi in the top 5. has done really well in the past, has gone team at Granite in the past too. And I think that I think this could truly be his year to break out as an individual.
The ones I had penciled in for like solidly should be, in the running were Chandler, Saxon, and Tim. And then I also had Scott Tetlow, Raj
Mm-hmm.
Gamboa, and Kevin Schutz. Schutz, am I getting that right? See, I'm terrible with the names.
Shoots,
Shoots. There
shoots,
you go.
shoots.
I mean, there's
Um,
a lot of talented people on the men's side, no doubt.
Yeah, and I just like I said with Kyle and with Roy too, like I'm impressed at the older field, like we're seeing all these like teens rising up in the women's division and like some real seasoned CrossFitters and old, not for this earth, just for the
Not like
sport of
me.
CrossFit, just for the sport of CrossFit, people who have been in it for a while who I think it's going to consistently start becoming the battle of new, young, capable blood versus like seasoned, experienced CrossFit professionals and what the pros and cons and ups and downs are for both of those groups.
Yeah. I'm excited to watch this one. I mean, I wish I could be there, but I'll watch every minute of it and watch you do your thing on the sidelines. That'd be great.
No, I won't be there.
Oh, I thought you were there.
No, giant
Oh,
bridesmaid, a whale of a bridesmaid. That's what I'm going to
that's
be. I have
right.
the biggest pink dress I've ever owned.
Oh, well, good. Well, now I don't care. No, I don't care at all.
Oh, yeah. Now you don't have to watch even.
Well, I'm
No,
watching.
I'm kidding. We're watching. But you and I will be at West Coast Classic together.
I cannot wait for West Coast Classic.
So fun.
I know it's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. Well, we'll get past Granite first. We'll see how our little predictions go here. But I think if you tune in, this is going to be a special comp, just based off the roster that's going to be there. And I do think I've been kind of alluding to some complaints about semis recently, but there's a lot of specialness coming out too. So I'm going to be interested when this is all over. We get past these three and maybe even Atlas. We'll have to do a mini review of what how all of these felt compared to regionals in years past and sanctionals that we've had. But if the MACC was an indication, I think we're in for a special ride here.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And thank goodness for the return of live competition. I did not realize, I had said out loud, I really miss it. I did not realize how much I missed it until I was there and experiencing it. So yay, yay. Yeah. So happy.
It's good stuff. Anything else from the weekend you were blown away by before we wrap up?
The hotel restaurant had really good chocolate brownies.
First of all, all right, I'm gonna complain to you for a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna yell at you. You guys were in the hotel eating wings and like microwave pizzas when
Yeah.
walking distance from your hotel were the greatest little local restaurants. We went to dinner right before you guys were eating that crappy food and had homemade biscuits and grits and chicken and waffles. And oh my God. And then for dessert, I had banana pudding.
Oh my God.
It was so good. And
Yeah.
pie.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous. But I don't think you realize, and probably people who are listening don't realize, like we're at the venue at like 7 a.m. and homegirl's got to be camera ready to go and like at the venue at 7. So I'm up at like 4:30 or 5 in the morning because I did not wake up like this. That takes me a while to get ready. And then we work for like 14 hours and then we have hours, like maybe upwards of 2 or more hours of meetings and recaps and prep for the next day. So the reason why you oftentimes see the broadcast crew just like eating the crap microwave pizza at the hotel is because we have these like 14 to 16 hour days and we get back and we just want to eat and like crawl into bed. Night 1, I fell asleep. I got takeout from the hotel restaurant. I didn't go anywhere. I did not have the energy. And it has nothing to do with being pregnant. This is just like what event life is like. I got takeout and I was talking to Matt up in my hotel room and I literally fell asleep into my turkey club, like face in the white bread. It was bad.
Well, Knoxville is a very cute little city.
It is so cute. Yeah.
And we had great food. every night. It was, really cool. The COVID restriction is still a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like some places said you had to wear masks, some said you didn't. Nobody seemed to be enforcing it. I got yelled at by some lady in the elevator for, for not having my mask on. Don't get on here if you're not wearing a mask. We haven't been vaccinated. I'm like, I've been vaccinated. You're the one putting me at risk. Like,
Yeah, it
but
was strange. I
it
think
was
that
weird.
every state that's figuring it out right now is going to have a weird transition period where like you don't know what the rules are and you're not trying to piss people off, but like also like you said, no one's really enforcing any, no one's talking about it. It's just like it's just happening around you. Um, and I personally honestly was kind of freaked out on day one getting there and having no one in a mask just because I'm not used to it. And like, I'm over it just like everyone is, but I'm also pregnant. So I'm like freaked out. But it was as cautious as I have been and as cautious as I continue to be. I found that I got very used to it by day two. I was like, oh, this is nice. Like not having to wear a mask everywhere is actually kind of nice.
Like
So
I was all in. Like me, Nikki. I mean, I know the people
yeah.
who don't know me as well. I'm not a hugger. I don't like. I've been joked my entire life. People have made fun of me and called me Johnny Half Hug because if I have to
Oh.
hug somebody, they get that one arm, kind of
Mm-hmm.
around the shoulder thing. I hugged everybody this week. It didn't matter
Yep.
who I ran into. I'm like Tommy, hug. Sean, hug. Madeiras' mom, who I don't know,
Hug.
hug.
No,
Everyone. Like I'm just so happy to have human contact again. I'm
I
probably gonna
know.
get a harassment lawsuit. Like it was amazing. Like
I love it.
yeah. So I'm hopeful that we get past all this and we can get back to
Yes,
normal life because my emotional well-being was so much better after this weekend to have human contact and live competition and talking to friends and
I agree. I totally agree. It felt really, it warmed my soul. It
yeah,
did.
it
It
was
really
good
did.
stuff. So well, big fun, and we got a photo together. So
We
that's
got one more for the next year. We're all good.
we're
We got our
set.
quota.
We are all we're all set. All right. Well, this is fun, Nikki, as always.
As always.
And then we're gonna see each other in just a few weeks.
Thank goodness.
I know, right? Just the long wait is over. All right. Well, everyone listening, we appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you guys tune in to Granite Games because it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll recap that one for you too. And then West Coast Classic after that, and probably Atlas Games after that, and God knows what after that.
There's some European ones coming. There's all sorts of good events coming.
Lots of CrossFit. So, with that, we'll let you guys run. Thanks for listening, and we will chat with you guys soon.